Okay. Sahasra yuga paryantam aharyad brahmano viduhu ratrim yuga sahasrantam teho ratra vido janaha. So he's saying 1 day of Brahma. It's called Brahma Kalpa. So each of these, the time scale we talk about in the Bhagavatam, this is very, very in much detail. This is explained. Srimad Bhagavatam about the various time scales. Okay, what we live on earth is 1 samvatsara or 1 year. The celestials, our 1 year for the celestials or the Pitru, it is 1 day. So 360 days of the earth is 1 day of the celestials or the Pitru Loka. 360 days of that is 1 day of the celestials. So assume you have the Pitrus and the celestials and then the Swargaloka and so on and so forth. It goes in that scale. And when it goes all the way up to Brahma, and so then we also know the time scale of Yuga. So one Yuga is, so if you have 4 yugas, right? Chatur Yuga comprises of 4 yugas. Satya Yuga or Krita Yuga. It's called Satya Yuga or Krita Yuga. Both are the same reference. Dwapara, Treta, then Dwapara and Kali Yuga. These are the 4 yugas that are referenced, right? This refers to various time scales. And the way it goes is each yuga is twice the previous one. And Kali Yuga is supposed to be 4,32,000 years. There is a certain math, 4,32,000 years. And so each yuga is kind of double that, and so on and so forth. And so imagine one Chatur Yuga, how many millions of years, or many thousands and thousands of years is one Chatur Yuga. And what it says is Brahma lasts 1,000 cycles of Chatur Yugas. So 1,000 Chatur Yugas is one Brahma. Not one Brahma, it is 1 day of Brahma. Okay. Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Aharyad Brahmano Viduhu. Brahma's 1 day is 1,000 cycles of the yugas, and equal is the night, which means when he sleeps off, it is another 1,000 cycles. Okay. And then he says, the one who knows this, te ahoratra vido janaha, the one who knows this as day and night truly understands the scale of time. Okay. So let us look at verse 17, 18, 19, and then we will spend a little time on what this is trying to convey. So this is the 17th verse. Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Aharyat Brahmano Viduhu. Brahma's day is 1,000 cycles of the yugas, the Chatur Yuga. The night is another 1,000 cycles. And the one who understands this is wise. The wise one understands what it really means to say day and night. That's the 17th verse. 18th verse is Avyakta Vyakta Sarvaha Prabhavantyahara Ratragame Praliyante Tatraiva Vyakta Sanyake. So it says at the day of Brahma, all the living beings come out. At night, they go back into Avyakta. So it is like Brahma sleeping. When Brahma wakes up, all of this creation happens. When Brahma goes to sleep, all of this is consumed back. And this happens every day. Day, night, day, night, day, night. And it is said that Brahma lives for 50 years. And then there is a new Brahma. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's very interestingly depicted. They show all the scale from the lowest to the highest. And then it says, at the end, it says, all of this is one wink of Mahavishnu. Okay. That's the scale of what we're talking about as creation, sustenance, and destruction. 19th verse says, Bhutagramasya evayam bhutva bhutva praliyate. Comes again and again. So beings are repeatedly taking birth at the Brahma's day and absorbed back at the night and manifests again the next day. Ratrayagama agame vashaf partha prabhavatya haragame. So they repeatedly go through this and come out. Okay. So what is being said? Let's spend about 5 minutes, 10 minutes on what is being said as the scale of time. Okay. Now, our scale of time is with reference to our lifetime. We get up in the morning, our day starts, we spend the morning, the afternoon, the evening, and then we go off to sleep. Then we go off to sleep, and then next day we begin and goes through like this. And if we are lucky, we live up to 70, 75, 80, depending on if you're generally okay, healthy, and not too you don't have too many troubles with the body. Generally, about, of course, at different periods of time, there are the life expectancies were very different, right? In much earlier days, life expectancy is much lower. That is why celebration, the 60th, if somebody is alive till 60 years of age, it's a big celebration, Shashtiyapta Purti. And the person has seen 1,000 moons, which is 80th birthday, even greater celebration. And then Kanakabhishekam is nambave mudiyadu. Why? Because at that time, there used to be a lot of there used to be a lot of natural calamities, diseases, all of this would happen, and there are no recourse, right? The technology of health was not so developed at a mass scale, and it was not available to the masses. So the ability for people to live much longer was much lesser. The masses I'm talking about, right? But of course, there are stories. Vikramadityan ruled for 1,000 years. Rama ruled for so many years. அப்படின்னு stories எல்லாம் இருக்கு. So there are people who've lived much longer, many years, and all of that. That is to also show that that during the period of time that they lived, the people felt that they're living such grand lifetimes. They're living so many lifetimes. That is probably the feeling. And I don't know how much truth that is there. But even in Ishavasya Upanishad, the blessing is always given as Shatagamaha. So Shata kurvanne veha karmani jijivishe chatagum samaha. Jijivishet shatam samaha. Which means desire to live for 100 years, doing your duty with your mind absorbed in your Ishta, in your God. Continue to do your duty and desire to live 100 years, which means don't seek death. Right? Even 100 years will not feel like 100 years or a great long time if you are able to just continue doing your duty and keep your mind dissolved or established in Bhagavan. Now, these are different times, there are different numbers, different time periods. It's hard for us to figure out. But we know one thing, that give it 200 years ago, there are not many people lived for very long. But now you see people live for much longer. The longevity has gone up also because of medical support systems and all that. Now, but for us, this is our lifetime, right? Anywhere between 60 to 80 is our lifespan. And we finish off. There are other beings that exist in other dimensions. So when we talk about Bhuloka or the earth, it's the earth that we perceive. So if you're familiar, there are 7 lokas upwards, right? Bhuhu, Bhuva, Swaha, Maha, Jana, Tapah. 7 lokas upwards. Now what it means is, this is not some other place or some other planet that we can go and figure out. It's not necessarily Bhu Loka is this, na Bhuvar Loka, wherein is it somewhere else, or Suvar Loka, or heaven is somewhere else. You go further vertical upwards, there is heaven. It is not like that. or you go 100 kilometers or 1,000 kilometers, you go north or upwards, you'll find Tapahaloka or Satyaloka, nothing like that, right? These are all lokas or dimensions that exist in this space and time. It is just these are subtler and subtler dimensions, much subtler dimensions. Like, for example, when we say Pitruloka or Pitruhu, all the Pitrus are existing here right now, which means an aspect of them after they die, an aspect of their personality, an aspect of their Sukshma Sharira continues to live. So when we say Bhuvarloka or Pitruloka, Bhuvarloka means the Pitruloka, it is not physically elsewhere. It is here. We cannot experience it. We cannot, a lot of people can experience. There are people who are sensitive enough, they are able to connect. How are they able to connect? Because they exist in the same dimension. Or rather, they exist in the same space time, but a different dimension, which means it is a different, subtler, how do we say, a subtler existence. Like, for example, if I see, now our experience of eyes can only see the Vibgyor color, violet to red, violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red. This is all I can see. But there are colors which are infrared and ultraviolet, which means there's a spectrum of colors that exist outside my ability to perceive. Same thing, auditory. We can hear only 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. Hertage is the measure of the decibel of sound. So I can only hear this spectrum of frequency. The dogs can hear lower than this. Whales, dolphins can hear, elephants can hear higher than that. So it's not in my realm of perception, but it exists. Where? Here only. In the same way, these Sukshma Sharira, they exist here, but it's in a subtler dimension. For us to experience, we need to be available to that sense, that energy, to be able to receive that. Now, so we're talking about the more subtler and subtler realms. Their time scale for them is very different. It's not the same time scale as for us, and space is also very different. Like my guru would say, like Hanuman says, right? Or Hanuman says, whenever there is Ramanama, I am present there. Wherever there is Rama's name that is chanted with love and devotion, I am present there. And in fact, my guru says, whenever you chant, you create a lot of positive energy with beautiful chants and mantras, a lot of souls, which are very evolved souls, will come and reside in that space. Which means, he says, they are disembodied beings. They don't carry this body. These are disembodied beings. They can occupy, hundreds of them can occupy the tip of a needle. Because for them, the aspect of space is not the same as ours. Right? Their occupying space is not the same as ours. For us, this is space, this is little, this is 1 centimeter, 10 centimeters or whatever, right? It's not the same for them, because they're in a much subtler realm. Now, having said that, when each of this realm you transcend, or you try to look at each realm, the time and space definition for them is very different. So what it means to say is that what is one day for us, for our Pitru, it could be an hour or it could be just 15 minutes. 360 days for 1 year for the Pitrus is there one day, which is why Shraddha is usually done every year. By doing Shraddha every year, you're feeding them every day. So this keeps going like this, and you go all the way. So imagine just at the Pitruloka, which is the most closely connected to the Bhuloka, this is the scale. And you're talking about Swargaloka, Indraloka, Brahmaloka, and so many other lokas. in between, and then Brahmaloka, the last. Every loka that you look at a higher loka, it is at a much subtler dimension and a much larger time scale. I'll give you a very small, a beautiful story from one book I read. The book is called 7 Minutes to Eternity. Okay, this book was written by an author who who I mean, this is like 1960s, 1970s. His name was Isaac Asimov. I don't know if you've heard of this name. Isaac Asimov. He used to write a lot of scientific novels, very imaginative, very futuristic. So he had written this novel was on saying 7 minutes to eternity. So what this is about is there is an experiment that scientists are performing, and what they're doing is they are downsizing a human being into the size of an atom so that they can study the atom. To study the atom, as the way it behaves, from here when you're observing, there isn't enough you can do. To study that, they've devised a method to completely shrink down a human being to the size of an atom so that he can study. And that experiment is supposed to be 7 minutes. So they will make the person very small and inject the person into the edge of a table, and then the person will study for 7 minutes, and then he'll come back and he'll bring all his reports and analysis. So they send him, they shrink him very small and they send him in. And this man is in there, he goes in, he starts his analysis, study, and all of that. He sees various subatomic particles, he sees very interesting, it's a very different world altogether he sees. And then he's spending time there, and then he is realizing a lot of time is passing, but these guys have not pulled me out. He's like, I'm supposed to go back in 7 minutes, but he's spending a lot of time. Days and days pass by for him in his experience. A lot of time passes by, but he's still wondering what's happening. He's not able to, they're not pulling him back. And then he becomes so exasperated. He starts growing a beard. He starts becoming weak. He's about to he becomes so dilapidated, he's about to die. And when he is completely exhausted and is about to almost about to die, he gets pulled back. Okay, and then he comes to his normal form. And then people looking at him, they're like, wow, what has happened to you? You're completely shattered. What happened? And then he looks at him and says, what happened to you guys? What took you so long? I've been there for so long. Look at my situation. Then the scientists who are outside, they say that it's funny, we wanted the experiment to last for 7 minutes, but roughly about 3 minutes or so, there is some malfunctioning in the system. So we had to pull you out in 3 minutes. Then he says, oh my God. So 3 minutes for somebody who is in the normal human plane, for this guy who has gone into an atomic scale, it seemed like many, 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 many days. It is a very profound book, story rather. It's a very interesting story. It says 7 minutes to eternity. So for him, it almost seemed like eternity. Time is not ending. It's so long. Why? Because at the atomic level, this is the scale of time. It's so rapid. Things happen so rapid. But from this scale, it seems normal. It seems like, oh, okay, maybe it's just 1 second that passed. But there it feels 1 second is like, oh my God, days and days have passed. This scientifically they've figured out that the smaller an entity becomes in terms of scale, the scale of time also is much shorter. So think of it. Srimad Bhagavatam was written how many 1,000 years ago, and Vedavyasa talks about scale of time like this, right? So these are entities which are much more subtler, and they exist in a realm which is much more kind of in a much more subtler and a grander realm. For them, what we go through is minuscule. So imagine Brahma. So we're talking about yugas and chatur yugas and thousands of it. So think of it from the point of Brahma, we don't even exist. Right? We don't even exist from the point of Brahma. We are just a speck. It's like, and not even that. I mean, it's hard to even say, right? We don't even exist. Imagine that scale. And that is Bhagavan Krishna is saying that what are you in this? In this whole grandeur of creation that's happening again and again and again and again. You are worried about the 60, 70, 80 years of your life. And you think you want to achieve something, you want to make a name, you want to make fame, you want to do this, that, other. ஐயோ என்னை யாரும் மதிக்கலையே, ஐயோ என்னை யாரும் பார்க்கலையே, நான் சொன்ன பேச்சு யாரும் கேட்கலையே. What are you? Basically, he's asking, he's reminding us, saying, what are you? In fact, there is a very beautiful YouTube video that's available that shows how from Earth, the video zooms out into space. Right? Suppose it starts from Dubai as an example. From Dubai, it go to UAE. From UAE, it goes to Middle East. From Middle East, it goes to the larger continent here. And then from the continent, it goes out to the whole Earth. From the Earth, it goes out the solar system. From the solar system, it goes out into the galaxy. From that, it goes to the whole Milky Way. From the Milky Way, it goes out further and further and further it goes out, and this is nothing in the whole cosmic creation. Why is this important? Because when we think about the scale of space and scale of time that we are operating in, we are insignificant. We are only significant in our heads, not in essential. In reality, there is no significance that way. But our significance lies in knowing that we are insignificant. Hey, when I believe truly that I am passing through many, many, many lifetimes, and this is just one lifetime that I'm having these experiences and going through this, I am on a journey. This thing is just one journey, one part, one leg, one step, one station in the train journey. A destination is clear, then this one station, one stop will not impact me. We go through a train. Suppose you're going through a long train journey from the north from Delhi to all the way to the south, Kanyakumari. And there are so many stations that come, right? Of course, there are some big stations, there are small stations. There are stations where people come in, you make friends with them, stations people get out. Somewhere you just talk to people across the window. You just transact with them because you want to buy something from them. Some stations you get down and you go interact with people there and you come back. That is all it is, right? Those who all came for the Panchadwaraka, I think none of you have come. But those who had come for Panchadwaraka, you would know that, or if you've been to this place, which is in Sudamapuri, Lakh Chaurasia. That place is called Lakh Chaurasia in Sudamapuri, where there are 8.4 million births that we go through. 84 lakh births are represented in a maze-like structure, and we are made to walk through that, and you come out. This is a phenomenal experience. You go through so many bends and curves, and you meet different people. All of this is, at the end of the day, is a journey. So One, why Krishna is saying this to Arjuna is that imagine the scale of things we are talking about. You are insignificant. Whether you stand here, you kill people, or you don't kill people, you cry, you lament, you happy, you go, you take sannyas, you don't take sannyas, you whatever you do, it is insignificant. So just do what you think is best in your best interest. No? Whatever is in my best interest, I do. Because at the end of the day, it's all gone. Poof. Like there's a very beautiful story of King Chitraketu in Bhagavatam, where he is weeping. His small child is born, and he is got that child after many years of tapas. Narada comes and blesses him, and he's got a small baby, and that baby dies. And this king is weeping and weeping. The whole kingdom is lamenting. The kingdom has gone into mourning. And then Narada passes by again and he says, what has happened to your kingdom? He says, my only child, you blessed me, O Narada. After many years of tapas, that only child is dead now. I want that child back. I want the child. So then he pleads, and then Narada says, okay, let me see what I can do. And then he brings the soul of the child back. And then the father is so elated and happy. And he tells the child, Appa, Vandite, come back, my son, come back. I am your father. Then the soul comes back and asks, which father are you? You are claiming to be my father of which janma, which lifetime? You may have been a father in one lifetime, you may have been a brother, you may have been a son, you may have been my son, you may have been my enemy, you may have been my friend, you may have been my sister. Which janma are you talking of? The son or the soul of the son which left Chitraketu, it's coming and it's asking, because Narada invoked, it's asking him. Then he comes out of this illusion, the king. Then Narada gives him a full Vedanta discourse. Very beautiful. It's about 3 chapters in Srimad Bhagavatam. So he says, what are you talking about? This is the time scale we are existing in. When somebody who knows this, so what Bhagavan Krishna is saying, the one who knows this is truly a wise man. He says, Ratrim Yuga Sahasrantam Teho Ratru Vido Janaha. Such people are the wise ones, those who understand that this is the scale of time we exist in. And it will do us good to remind ourselves, because we make this as reality. Right now, this is the time I live in. This is my child, this is my son, this is my daughter, this is my wife, and this is everything right now. And so I'm so caught up that I forget that when I drop this, I will be still wandering. If I don't drop this really, only my body will drop. Correct? If I really don't drop this illusion, thinking that this, knowing that all of this is just a speck, then when I drop the body, I will still be wandering around. So Krishna is giving us this meditation. It's really very helpful to meditate upon this. If I get that whole yuga, the scale of time, I'll look up in Bhagavatam. I'll share it in the group. It really will help for us to, and it is not some story, right? It is not generally some Bhagavatam le do story kadaya. It's not that. It is truth. Means we can experience just by applying a little mind to it. Space, we can definitely apply that, right? We know we are a speck in this whole large cosmos. But time, it's difficult for us to imagine. So we use the Shastras, the help of the Shastras, to know that there have been people who have lived here. See, think of people who lived 1,000 years ago. We talk about Veda Vyasa. Who knows where is he? We talk about Ravana also. We talk about Hiranyakashipu also. We talk about Tarakasura also. We talk about Hitler also. We talk about Swami Vivekananda also. We talk. But where are they? We talk about Adi Shankara. Where are they? Whoever knows, right, where they are. So as an individual, where will I be? Am I worried how people are going to talk about me after I die? How will I know? How will I know what people are going to talk about me when I die? How does it matter? சுவடு இல்லாம போய்விடு அப்படின்னு சொல்லி ஒரு இது கேள்விப்பட்டிருக்கேன் நான். Which means don't don't leave a footprint. ஒரு footprint கூட அவசியம் இல்லை. Because at the end of the day, you'll just get washed away. When the water comes from the ocean, the sea, சாண்ட்ல வந்து நீங்க காலை எவ்வளவு அமுக்கி வச்சாலும் அடிக்கிற தண்ணி, it's going to wash it away. How much ever deep we press our feet into the sand by the shore, when a water from the ocean comes, it washes away, it's gone. Whose footprint was it? So Bhagavan is
ஆக்சுவலா குருஜி இந்த ஆக்சுவலா இந்த இதுல வாட் ஐ ட்ரை டு இன்ஃபர் இஸ் குருஜி, ஐ மே பி ராங், இஸ் தட் இன் திஸ் லைஃப், ஓகே,
சொல்லுங்க மாமா.
கட் ஆயிட்டா இல்லையா?
ஆமா.
ஸோ அதான் இந்த லைஃப்ல வந்து whatever relationships we have, we just take it as a relationship in this particular life and get along and not get emotionally attached to any kind of attachment. Yeah.
True. We do what needs to be done because all relationships have a purpose to serve. It has a purpose to serve. We
Correct.
recognize.
அதான் அந்த பர்பஸோட எடுத்துட்டு போயிட்டோம்னா,
Correct.
we don't, we can be in a bliss. Otherwise, in the emotional attachment வச்சுட்டா தான், I have seen people who are like husband எதனா எடுத்துனாக்கா அப்படியே
They suffer.
ஒய்ஃபுக்கு எதனா எடுத்துனா அப்படியே they just
Break
get
down.
depressed. Get depressed.
They
Or
break
vice
down.
versa also.
Correct.
அதான் இது வந்து அந்த இடத்துல எமோஷனல் அட்டாச்.
Correct. The emotional attachment, when we say we keep attachment in any form is definitely not attachment in any form is not conducive for my growth. Any form of attachment, right? Be it material attachment, emotional attachment, mental attachment to ideas also. My idea, I've got mental attachment, that is also, any form of attachment is harmful for me. Emotional attachment in relationships even more dangerous because it justifies its presence. We will always find a reason to justify ourselves why this emotional attachment is valid. Finished. Then you are in the biggest illusion. Because you have justified to yourself, no, in this relationship, it is correct to be emotional. It is correct to be this way. And I reaffirm this to myself over time. And it becomes part of my system. And then after a certain point, we become helpless. We succumb to that emotion. Because we become helpless. Because why? Because we have fed that into ourselves so much so, now the emotion has taken over. That has taken over and it has made us a slave. We have become helpless now. Even if we want to, it's difficult for us to come out. So, any form, but at any time, with the resolve, it's possible to come out. And this is sannyasa. Sannyasa is to recognize tyaga. When we do tyaga or any form of renunciation, this is what it is. You're renouncing the limited understanding that I have, and I open myself to the larger understanding. Right? Nyasa is to establish oneself, establish an entity into oneself. Now, what am I establishing? Some nyasaha. Samatvam, I am establishing samatvam within me. I'm establishing samatvam, establishing the fact that I am not going to be controlled or limited by this little understanding that I carry. I am going to expose or um, relate myself to this larger understanding. So when Krishna is saying that this time, the scale of time, please look at it. He's saying that now your limited understanding, your buddhi is not able to help you see this. Right? When you were a small child, I remember this. And as a small child, I used to wonder, oh, yo, when will I grow up? Because I've seen my older cousin brother will be able to quickly jump steps and go. But I will not be able to. I'll have to go one step by one step. He will jump steps and go. So I used to think, ஐயோ எப்போதான் நான் வந்து அது மாதிரி பண்ணுவேன் அப்படின்னு. When will I be able to make leaps like that? At that time, it would feel like, oh my God, I don't know when it will be. But now, if I look back, it's gone, it's over, it's washed away. That is no longer a desire or something that I'm aspiring for. And when did it come and when did it go? It just vanished, right? This is true of any form of desire, like Mama saying, any form of emotional attachment, anything. It just has a time. That's all. It's a matter of time. It will vanish. Depending on what we feed. We keep feeding it, அதுக்கு ஆயில் குத்தி அதுக்கு திரி ஏற்றி நல்லா ஏற்றிகிட்டே இருந்தோம்னா அது பார்த்துக்கு கொழுந்து எரியும். I stop fueling it, it will slowly burn out. I stop fueling it. I keep fueling it, it will keep burning beautifully. Right? So Krishna is saying this in 17th, 18th, and the 19th verse. He says many repeated births are keep coming out of Brahma in every day, reabsorbed in his night, and then again during his day it comes out. Then what he says in the 20th verse, he says parastasmatu bhavonyah avyaktat sanatanaha. Okay, so he says above this vyakta and avyakta, there is another avyakta. What this means, yas sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashyati. What it means to say is between the vyakta and avyakta. So during Brahma's day, things are created. At Brahma's night, things are absorbed. Next day, created. Next day, absorbed. Now, this is also a game. Correct? See, he's saying, paraha tasmat tu bhavaha. Beyond this bhavaha anyah avyaktah asti. There is another unmanifest, which is avyaktat sanatanaha, which is unmanifest of the unmanifest, that is so, which means this activity that happens, it's like saying I sleep, I wake up, I sleep, then I wake up. So when I wake up, what happens? All my senses come into action. There is vyakta. That means there is manifestation of my senses, my faculties, my cognition, my action, everything. When I go to sleep, all of this is absorbed into some kind of darkness, karana sharira. In the sushupti avastha, everything is absorbed. When I wake up again it all comes out. When I go to sleep again, it is all absorbed. Now what he says is, beyond this waking and sleeping, waking and sleeping, waking and sleeping, there is something that is ever existing. There is some para tattva. There is a para tattva that is existing beyond that which is waking and sleeping, waking and sleeping. And that continues to be observing. That is the Para Shakti, that is the Paratattva, that is the Parabrahman, that is the Avyakta Brahman. So he says that does not cease. Because this Brahma himself, he's created, he's absorbed, he's created, he's absorbed. This Brahma himself gets absorbed somewhere, no? Right? The principle of creation itself gets absorbed somewhere. So he says that is the unmanifest, and that Parabrahma, Paramatma, he will say that is me, that is I. But in our experience, it is this Tattva or this Paratattva that is existing within us as this silent conscious witness during all my activities. Whether I'm sleeping, it is present. Whether I'm awake, it is present. It is present during all different stages of my consciousness. Suddenly, நான் அப்படியே பராக் பார்த்துட்டு இருக்கேன் அப்படின்னா, if I'm just wandering, my eyes are wandering somewhere and my mind is wandering somewhere also, that is present. If I'm daydreaming, it is present. When I'm sitting in a meeting and I'm sleeping, watching and I'm sleeping, that time also it is present. When somebody knocks my head off and I fall and I'm unconscious, that time also it is present. When I'm drunk and I'm intoxicated and I don't know what I'm doing, that time also it is present. When I'm completely depressed and dejected and crying and weeping, it's present. When I'm joyful, exhilarated, and jumping around and very celebrative, that time also it is present. When I'm yearning for death, I want to die, 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 that time also it is present. When I'm holding on to life saying I want to live, that time also it's present. What it means is that irrespective of all of these activities that are happening, that Tattva, that Parabrahman, that Paramatma, Paratattva is always present. So he says, one who knows this, he is a Viduhu, he is a wise man, he is somebody who is wise. Okay. So Krishna today has expressed or shown us that whatever we do, we remember our station in life and we think of life as a large stream, not just constrained by this body, time, this is my name, this is where I was born, so on and so forth. It's a continuous stream. And what is that singular thing that is existing before I was born and after I die is existing? Is Bhagavan, is Paramatma, Chit, Satchit Ananda, this consciousness. This is always existing. So that is my Paramo Dharmaha. That is my Dharma. That is my Adhara. That is my substratum. That is the root. We hold on to that. All of this will be a beautiful journey. Right? Okay. So with that, we will pause today. Om Kayena Vacha Manasendriyerva Buddhyatmana Va Prakrite Svabhavat Karomi Yatyat Sakalam Parasmai Narayanayeति Samarpayami Sadashivayeति Samarpayami Jagadambikaye iti Samarpayami Sadgurunathayeति Samarpayami Hari Om Tat Sadgurubhyo Namah. Gurudeva. Hari Om.
Hari Om Guruji.
Hari Om.